Now, it was only after the 9/11 attacks that most Americans learned of the harsh conditions that Afghan women and girls faced under the Taliban. And it was that which spurred Afghan native and Duxbury resident Razia Jan to act, launching a daring endeavor to build a school just for girls in 2008. That school's success has now led Razia to break ground on a community college for those young girls to continue their education, a process captured by documentary filmmaker Beth Murphy.
At the groundbreaking for the Razia Jan Community College, there's no question about the elders' loyalties, as one by one, they lay in the first foundation stones.
Joining me now are Beth Murphy, director of GroundTruth Films, who's documented the progress of the girls' school in Afghanistan, and Razia Jan, who settled in Massachusetts after the Russian invasion of Afghanistan and the Taliban takeover, and now has returned to spark change in her home country. I'm glad to see you again, and I'm thrilled to meet you, I have to say.
Thank you so much.
I said at the beginning, Razia, that at 9/11, this is what specifically said to you in your head, I have to go back there and do this?
I think it's just that I lived in this country and I saw that always I was involved in community projects and really wanted to do good service for the people. I'm a Rotarian for almost 25 years. And when 9/11 happened, it really affected me. Not only for Afghan people, but for Americans.
But weren't you scared to go? It's one thing to do community work in and around Duxbury.
Right.
It's nothing to do it in a rural community in Afghanistan.
Well, I kind of took one step at a time. I started, the first time I left from here, I went in 2002, January of 2002, and I stayed there for a month and tried to go to different orphanages and see the conditions that what these girls are especially going through, terrible situation. And while I was there, it just affected me so much that I was in this orphanage and a 13-year-old girl was dropped at the gate. And she had cried so much, her eyes were swollen, she had nothing, and she torn clothes, and the villagers, they couldn't stand having her in the village, so she might be abused, or so they dropped her in this orphanage. And I said, God, if this child has no place to go, we have to do something to make their life better.
How'd you hear about this effort, Beth?
It was because of a previous film, Beyond Belief, about two September 11th widows who were helping war widows in Afghanistan. And they did a bike ride from Ground Zero back to Boston to raise money and awareness for Afghan war widows. And Razia was there in Boston Common to greet them as they came back into Boston.
I want to show you played this on our show on Memorial Day. I want you to see a piece of video that I could not get over. The first piece of video you're going to see is Razia meeting with some of the men in the community, trying to convince them of the value of this. And what you'll see is the men are contorting their bodies in such a way not to even make eye contact with Razia. And then we'll fast forward to what you saw a minute ago, the groundbreaking for the community college, where these same men are not only making eye contact, but voicing ringing tributes to you. How did you get from that to this, Razia? How did you convince them, those men, how important educating their daughters was?
I think they saw the result themselves. They saw how the life has changed in their household. They saw how their daughters are doing better by really teaching their mothers and siblings that never went to school, older sisters. They are trying to help their brothers. They're even trying to help cousins and everybody to learn more. And although, you know, these people don't have electricity, but these girls, you know, our kids are so lucky in this country, all over the world, I think most of the world, except third world countries, that they have the opportunity and they really don't understand it. But those girls, they stay at night, like after doing all their chores. I've given them these little lamps and they put a piece of cloth on their head and they stay up and they study to come next day and have their homework done.
Yeah, is this, we read stories about the average, 11, 12-year-old is either married or engaged. Is this as atypical as I believe it to be from afar, or is this kind of thing beginning to be replicated in Afghanistan?
It's very unusual, like precisely what's happening at the school. I mean, first, it's a free private school in a rural village, which is almost unheard of. The community college also will be free and private. And right now at the school, there are 4 girls who are married. So it's not only the fathers who have, said yes year after year after year, but now husbands also. And I talk to people in the city in Kabul who say, that's extraordinary. I can't believe that's happening there.
Razia, last thing, I don't want to end this on a down note, but the United States, the president has committed to withdraw virtually all troops. The man she works with, Charlie Senator, runs the GroundTruth Project, said on our radio show today, it's likely the Taliban will take over after that. Do you worry that everything you've created comes undone in the future?
I don't think so. I have great hope. I don't think so ever that Taliban are going to take what they had before. Maybe they might be a part of the country, that they have a couple of people that will be ruling. I don't think so they'll ever do that. I don't trust them. I think they are not people. They are worse than animals. And when they don't have they don't care for their life, how can they care for anybody else's life? And I just disagree. I think we are going to go forward with all the hardship, with all the trouble we are facing, but I think there is some bright light in the end of the tunnel.
You are the bright light.
Well,
Razia Jan, I am so honored to have finally met you. Thank you so much. Beth Murphy,
Great to see you
can't
again.
wait to see all your work. And I'm going to tell you how you can. The journalists at the GroundTruth Project work in partnership with GBH. For years, they've covered the war in Afghanistan as part of a special report called Forever Stand. Now they've launched a podcast, which you can subscribe to on iTunes starting tomorrow, September 11th, and you can get all the information you need on the wonderful work that Razia has been doing.